How's it going, guys? And in this video, I'm gonna be sharing a medical school update for me. And this is gonna be a pretty brutally honest reflection in terms of where I'm at right now. I left medical school. I'm on a leave of absence currently, and I took a job working at Amazon Web Services as a systems development engineer. So it was a pretty big change in terms of the type of work that I'm doing. But I really wasn't feeling like medical school was a good fit for who I am. And, there's a lot of things I'm still figuring out. So this is very much a work in progress, but I guess I'll just kind of talk about where I was coming from. And honestly, the breaking point for me when I left when I did was just the fact that I was getting asked to give them $30,000 for the next semester's tuition. And I felt like this wasn't something I was enjoying. This wasn't something I saw myself sticking with in the long run or enjoying in the long run. And so it had very little to do with, it didn't really feel like an investment to me. It felt more just like a bunch of pain and suffering I was putting myself through. And I've heard a bunch of counter arguments from people telling me, you got to tough it out. You got to stay positive. You can't look too far ahead in the future. And, you just got to kind of suffer through it with everyone else. And that just isn't who I am. I want to be different. I want to find my own path. And I wasn't seeing medical school as this opportunity to really be myself. And so that's really what I was feeling. And I still feel that today. It's been a few months since I left. I actually made a trip back to move my stuff out of my apartment. And yeah, I got to see my roommates and get to see the school again. And I can't tell you I missed any of it because, I missed my roommate. He's a cool guy. But in terms of the school and the education and the life of being a medical student, I did not miss any of that stuff because it was just terrible. And like, I know this is my own opinion, by the way. Maybe some people really enjoy sitting down and preparing for board exams and having to memorize a bunch of stuff that seems like trivia. I know it's not trivia because I know it matters and it can save someone's life if you're in the right context and the right setting. But for me, I don't like having to sit there and memorize trivia. I want to understand why is something important, and I want to work with other people to do this. And where I was at in my medical school, and I don't want to name names and say where I was at because I don't want to be sued for slander here, but it was not a good education in my opinion. I did not feel like I was learning what I needed to learn to be an effective physician. And I advocated for it. I was in the student government. I wanted to see more of a team-based learning environment than we were getting. And everything was done through Zoom. Everything was virtualized. There were some things that we did in person, like your standardized patient encounters, but not every single one. A lot of them were done through Zoom, just like telemedicine. And our lectures were pre-recorded. A lot of them were, and they were showing us lectures from the previous year because they didn't even want to record lectures for this year, which to me just seemed like I'm not getting what I paid for as a student. And I was very frustrated by that too. Like, there's a lot of negatives here that I don't want to talk about too much because it is frustrating, but it just did not feel like a good environment for me to be in. And the other sense that I have is that among a lot of the people there in medical school is they're kind of willing to put up with it. They're willing to put up with anything because this is their ticket to get that super high paying career and to get all that prestige and respect in their community. And it is a very prestigious and respectable profession to go into. You're helping people every day, and you're also making a lot of money too. And that's, I think, why a lot of people are interested in it. And I think if you're really just in it for prestige and money, it's not going to really you won't make it in the long run. And my reasons for being there is that I genuinely wanted to figure out how to improve things in a systemic way because there's a huge lack of access to primary care doctors right now. It kills more than 7,000 people every year in the United States per the US News World Report. But it's like, that's why I was there, is I wanted to see what can I do as an individual to help this system. And for me, I felt like if I just stick here and I stay as a medical student, I'm just going to be another foot soldier in this war. And I'm not going to really be able to do anything beyond just open up a clinic and, maybe help people in some town, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm not knocking that, but it's just not who I see myself in the long run. I don't see it as a good fit. I think of myself more as an engineer and more in the sense of someone who is wanting to architect policy decisions and think about complex things and how to incentivize stuff so that, instead of having a bunch of doctors once they graduate medical school go into subspecialties that aren't really needed, instead go into primary care where they are needed. But instead, because there's so much more money in specializing, there's so much prestige in specializing, you're getting a vacuum of doctors going where they need to go, and it's killing people at the end of the day. People don't have access to primary care. And what I was feeling about myself, because that's a systemic problem with medical education, especially in the United States, but what I was seeing in myself as I was there is that I felt like by the time I get out of this thing, I'm going to be so much in debt, and I will have put up with so much shit from just the types of needless stressors that they put on you when you're in medical school to try to haze you into this profession, is that I would probably turn into the type of doctor that I would not want to be in the long run. And this is my current sentiment. I'm not saying I'm necessarily right, and I'm not saying I would necessarily feel this at other places, so I'm not going to be specific here and name names or the institution I was at, but for me, I just did not feel like it was a good fit. And maybe, and this is what the administration of my school says all the time, is that it's all because of COVID. And they're just trying to be safe, and they're just trying to be careful, and they're trying to make sure that, no one's going to get sick. And it's like this very conservative, cautious approach to how you're training physicians. But I couldn't help but feel like a lot of it had to do with financial incentives to keep things virtual, because moving everything to virtual means you don't have to pay as much for maintaining your facilities, and showing kids pre-recorded lectures from last year means you don't have to pay a professor to record your lectures this year. But are you going to lower your sticker price for your tuition? Of course not, because you don't want to take in as much money as you can. And so to me, it was, again, frustrating to be in this environment where it's not only me feeling like I'm not getting a good quality education, but I'm also seeing the business side of things too, in terms of what is it like to actually run an institution and try to make as much money as you can, because at the end of the year, your bonus is probably tied to that. And so I just really was not enjoying where I was, what I was doing, and where I saw myself headed. And, the types of people who I believe do really well in medical school are the people who are able to be positive and to really focus on, what is it about this that you are going to enjoy and you're going to love. And so my dad was someone who loved it. He loved being a physician. He advocated for other people to become physicians. And for him, he loved his patients. He loved helping people. He loved playing the role of a physician in those exam rooms, telling someone, we're going to get you all the help you need to get through this pain. If you're that type of person that really loves those types of moments and those types of interactions, and it's enough to outweigh all the other things you've had to do to get to that point, then it's worth it. And I'm not saying those types of people don't exist. They do exist. My dad was a great example of one. But it's definitely a hard path to take. It is a challenging path to take. And in terms of my own personal career and life, I see myself being happier and finding more meaning and purpose, taking a different path. And I'm not saying, I want to go take an easy path. This is me saying, I don't feel like this is the right path for me. And again, I know I've said this before, but it wasn't really me asking, can I do medical school? This is me asking, should I do medical school? And as I kept thinking about who I was going to be 5 or 10 years from now, having to figure out residency, pay residency applications, work my ass off in a hospital, don't see the light of day for days on end because you're inside the hospital or you're on call. It just really didn't seem like something I would enjoy. And I don't know if the positives would necessarily outweigh the negatives of it. And so it's my personal choice. And it took a lot to get into medical school, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort went into me getting that far. And so I think for a lot of people, the economic thing here is the sunk cost fallacy. And it's like, if you put so much into it already, you can't just walk away from it. Even if it does seem like something that's not going to work out in the long run, you can't do that because you've already invested so much. And that type of thinking isn't healthy, in my opinion, because you're going to end up hating it, and you're going to hate it even more. And you're going to turn into the type of person that you probably talked about in your personal statement of not wanting to be. And so that was, for me, what really made me just step back and say, where am I going here? And why am I here? And what do I really want to do with my life? And I don't want to knock physicians. I respect and admire them. My dad was one. I loved him. He passed away, unfortunately, but he was a huge reason why I even decided to try this path. And to me, it's interesting. A final note I'll say on this is just that I look at medical school now the same way I look at law school, in the sense that, I think there's a lot of ego, perhaps, or machismo, whatever words are, just like, as a person, you want to be competitive, you want to be ambitious, and you want to look at things that are hard, and you want to go do those things because they're hard. And law school, I know, is insanely hard. I know it's an insane amount of work. And I know as a practicing lawyer, it's an insane amount of work too, depending on what type of lawyer you become. That's, I can look at a lawyer, the law profession, and I can say, like, that is a lot of intense work. You need to be extremely intelligent to do it. You just need to have very good, strong work ethics, and I can respect it, but I don't feel like I need to go do that. I feel like I can go find my own path in life, and I don't see myself enjoying it right now. And I can say the same exact thing now for medical school. When I was applying for medical school and in medical school, it was kind of like medical school was just this super special, different thing in my life that I had to do for my dad. And logically, you can't really knock it because you're going to open up a lot of doors doing it. Yes. But at the same time, you'd open up a lot of doors doing something else too, like going into law school. But I don't want to do law school because I don't think I'm that great at critical reasoning or reading or writing, or, I enjoy arguing to an extent. But it's just like, that just doesn't feel like a good fit for me. And I feel the same way about medical school, in that sense of, yes, a lot of prestige comes from doing this really hard path. But at the end of the day, is this something I see myself enjoying in the long run? And that's a question that only you can answer. And for me, it is not something I was seeing myself enjoying. And that's something that has just kind of reaffirmed itself in my brain the longer I've been out. It's just that, even though, I enjoyed those patient interactions, I want to help people in my own way. And I think being a physician is a great way to do that. It's just something where, based on what I was seeing, even though you do that little bit, maybe 20% of your day being with patients, that other 80% where you're on a phone call with an insurance company or a utilization review doc and you're arguing why your treatment request is necessary, that's not stuff I enjoy too much. And that's a huge part of the work. So it's like, whatever path in life you choose in your career, there's always going to be good and bad with it. And so you kind of have to weigh the two, in my opinion. And hopefully, you can figure out, where do you feel like you've got a good balance of good to bad. And I really wasn't seeing that in where I was at in the school I was at. So that's where I'm at right now. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. If you have any questions or comments, love to hear them. And I hope everyone out there is doing well. I'll talk to you guys next time, and thank you.